From mysterious megalithic formations to the oldest religious site in the world, here are 12 ancient archaeological sites that could change history. 12. BROWNSHILL Dolmen. Found in County Carlow, Ireland, this structure is described as a megalithic portal tomb and weighs an estimated 100 metric tons, that's more than 220,000 pounds, which is said to make it the heaviest such object in Europe. Portal tombs are also identified as dolmens and typically consist of 2 or more megaliths placed vertically that support a large horizontally placed capstone. The oldest such dolmens are found in Western Europe, and this particular structure is thought to have been built between 4000 and 3000 BC by some of Ireland's earliest inhabitants. At one time, experts think the capstone was covered by an earthen mound, and a gatestone blocked the entrance. Now, in fact, the gatestone and both portal stones remain in their original positions. It's possible that a chamber is located there, but since BROWNSHILL has never been excavated, there's not that much information available about it. 11. CHAVIN de HUANTAR. While Peru is better known for the ruins of Machu Picchu, the ruins of CHAVIN de HUANTAR are as fascinating in their own way. The CHAVIN were known as a major pre-Inca culture, and structures and artifacts found at the site date back to around 1200 BC, but initial occupation of the site has been carbon dated to around 3000 BC. Located at an altitude exceeding 10,000 feet, it was the center of CHAVIN religion and culture, and a great pyramidal temple with a U-shaped plaza was the centerpiece. Known as the Circular Plaza, it served as a gathering spot for attending rituals or consulting oracles, among other activities. Experts say that between 500 and 300 BC, the civilization was racked by social upheaval, and that, along with possible environmental catastrophes like earthquakes, could have played a role in the CHAVIN decline, but there is still no definite answer as to just why they faded away. 10. The DENDERA Light. Located in Egypt, the small town of DENDERA is home to one of the country's best preserved temple complexes, dating back to around 2250 BC and encompassing some 40,000 square meters of land. DENDERA served as the site for many shrines and chapels since the start of recorded history of ancient Egypt. Hathor Temple, the main structure here, contains a controversial relief that is often referred to as the DENDERA Light. Now, by some accounts, the relief depicts a representation of an object that greatly resembles modern-day lighting technology, that is, a light bulb, more or less anyway. Proponents of this theory note the resemblance of the object in the relief to modern devices, including the Crookes tube and arc lamps in particular. Egyptologists say the relief depicts simply images from Egyptian mythology. Who do you believe? 9. NEWGRANGE. This prehistoric monument in Ireland was built sometime around 3200 BC, which not only makes it older than Stonehenge, but the Egyptian pyramids as well. A circular mound that covers some 4,500 square meters, or more than an acre of ground, is located there. An inner stone passageway leads to chambers inside the mound. It's thought that the chambers could have contained votive offerings, grave goods, or human bones. Now, despite that, it is unclear if the location was used as any sort of burial site. Standing stones ring the mound's perimeter, and there are 12 of them that have survived out of an estimated 35 or so. But experts think the standing stones were added centuries later, during the Bronze Age. And many of the larger stones at NEWGRANGE are carved with abstract rock art. It's still disputed whether the artwork was purely decorative or maybe it had a deeper symbolic meaning. Now, many experts feel that NEWGRANGE would have served a religious or astronomical purpose, given that the main entrance is aligned with the rising sun of the winter solstice. As yet, though, there is no overall consensus as to what NEWGRANGE was actually used for. 8. The Stone of the Pregnant Woman. BAALBEK is a city in Lebanon, and it has a history that stretches back to the 7th millennium BC. It was annexed by the Romans during the Eastern campaigns, and that led to the city becoming known as Heliopolis. And today you can find some of Lebanon's best preserved Roman ruins there. Now, that includes the city's Roman temple complex, which contains an amazing object known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. Estimated to weigh some 1,100 tons, the stone is a Roman monolith, and added to another mass of stone nearby, it's one of the largest monoliths ever quarried, measuring nearly 21 meters. The stone's unusual name apparently sprang from several stories, including one that claimed a woman's fertility would increase if she touched the stone. Now, including that main monolith, there are actually 3 huge rectangular stone blocks all found at the ancient quarry, each heavier than the other. A second monolith is estimated to weigh more than 1,200 tons, while a third monolith has a weight estimated at more than 1,600 tons, and that would serve to make it the largest stone ever crafted by human hands. Now that's assuming, of course, they don't find a fourth monument in that quarry. While experts think the blocks were intended for the nearby temple complex, they are unsure as to why the Romans made the monoliths so large. Their monolithic massiveness is said to be unmatched in all of antiquity. 7. The Great Temple of Abydos. This is one of the oldest cities of ancient Egypt, dating to around 2900 BC, considered a sacred city due to its many temples, and the necropolis where many of the early pharaohs were entombed. Abydos is regarded as one of the most important archaeological sites in Egypt as well. The Great Temple of Abydos, which is also known as the Temple of Seti I, still remains in remarkable condition, and it's become known for some unusual hieroglyphics that are carved over an arch there. According to some interpretations, the hieroglyphics represent objects that look remarkably like modern-day helicopters or submarines, battle tanks, or even fighter aircraft. Egyptologists say that the images are the result of the carved stone being used over and over throughout the ages, but other sources claim to see depictions of modern technology in the ancient hieroglyphics. 6. ANTEQUERA. Spain has some of the largest dolmens, or passage mounds, in the world. The country's 3 most important dolmens are located close to the town of Antequera and are thought to have been established around 3700 BC, making them a contemporary of Stonehenge and other well-known megalithic sites. Spain's 3 large dolmens are Cueva de Menga, Cueva de Viera, and the Tholos of El Romeral. The biggest stones used for their construction weigh about 180 tons and were transported from a mile away at minimum. Many of the walls feature illustrations that are anthropomorphic in nature. Menga is aligned to the summer solstice, and El Romeral shares traits and characteristics with Tholos dolmens found on Crete, which some believe suggests a connection to the Minoan civilization. 5. CALLANISH stones. These standing stones are located on the coast of the Outer Hebrides in Scotland. Erected during the late Neolithic period, they were thought to serve a function as a place of religious activity during the Bronze Age. Arranged in the shape of a cross with a monolith near the center, the site contains 13 stones, which are estimated to have been arranged sometime between 2900 and 2600 BC. The central stone is nearly 5 meters high and is estimated to weigh around 7 tons. A chambered tomb stretching more than 6 meters is located near the central stone, thought to have been added after the stone circle was constructed. Now, some experts have suggested the possibility that the site functioned as a type of prehistoric lunar observatory. Others feel the stone's alignment was the result of pure chance. Did you know that several ritual sites are located nearby, including at least 3 additional stone circles only a few kilometers away? According to some local folklore, the CALLANISH stones were actually petrified giants who refused to renounce their religion. What do you think? 4. Sacsayhuaman. On the outskirts of the city of Cusco in Peru, you will find an ancient walled fortress, sections of which were initially built in the year 1100. Sacsayhuaman was a citadel complex that was expanded upon by the Inca starting in 1300 and involved the use of stones that weighed hundreds of tons. Workers cut the boulders so precisely that they fit together without mortar. Even a piece of paper could not fit in the space between them, and that has led some sources to speculate that the workers must have had access to something more advanced than bronze tools to cut through that hard andesite stone. Cuts so precise seem more likely to have been made with a machine than primitive tools, at least according to certain theories. Could the Inca have had access to some form of advanced technology? And if so, how might that impact history? 3. The MOAI heads. Easter Island is an isolated volcanic island in Polynesia, where it might be better known as Rapa Nui. No matter the island's name, it's famous for being the home of the MOAI heads. Around 900 of the huge stone figures are believed to have been erected there from the 12th to the 17th century. Standing at an average height of 13 feet, the monolithic human figures weigh on average nearly 14 tons, but the largest stood 33 feet and weighed more than 90 tons. They were carved from volcanic ash, then set atop stone platforms and scattered in various locations across the island. Now, one question that always arises concerning the MOAI heads is, are they attached to bodies? Well, in fact, they are attached to bodies that are usually placed in a squatting position but are buried up to the neck. Many archaeologists believe that the MOAI heads represent the ancestors of the ancient Polynesian peoples, while other experts see the stone heads as symbols of religious and/or political power and authority. And there's another mystery regarding the monoliths. How exactly were they transported across the island? 2. GGANTIJA. These two temples were constructed in Malta, starting in the Neolithic, around 3600 BC. They are the earliest megalithic temples found in the island country, although the temples are found specifically on the island of Gozo in the Mediterranean. At some 5,500 years old, that makes them older than the pyramids of Egypt. Experts say that the temples would have been used as ceremonial sites for fertility rituals, and they have found figurines and statues in the area that have been apparently linked to such a cult. The construction of these edifices presents its own mystery, though. How could the huge stone buildings have been erected when the islanders did not have the wheel or the use of metal tools? Spherical stones found nearby may have been used as a type of ball bearing to transport the blocks, but that is not a given, nor is the exact purpose for which the temples were built. 1. Göbekli Tepe. Now, this mysterious site is located in southeastern Turkey and is thought to date back as far as the 10th millennium BC. Nearly 1,000 feet in diameter, the site features more than 200 T-shaped pillars arranged in 20 circles. Did you know that they are believed to be the oldest known megaliths on the planet? Every one of the pillars reaches some 20 feet high and weighs around 20 tons. Sockets were carved out of the bedrock into which the pillars were fitted. Located on an isolated plateau, Göbekli Tepe was first documented during a survey in the early 1960s. Now, in 1995, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt began excavations there, which continued until his death in 2014. Now, Schmidt believed the site was not a settlement, but a Stone Age sanctuary, where people from across the region would occasionally congregate. Some of the findings there raise more archaeological questions than answers. For instance, strange pictograms and carved animal reliefs decorate most of the pillars, with vultures displayed prominently. So far, scholars have not been able to interpret the pictograms' meanings. Nothing has yet been determined for certain about Göbekli Tepe, since excavations have revealed less than 5% of the total area. But radiocarbon dating suggests it could represent the oldest religious site yet discovered in the entire world.